Hey, good day, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook with members of the Illinois Freedom Caucus and our State Director, Colin Mosley, for a mid-December Merry Christmas edition of the Tuesday night live stream and roundtable. Guys, welcome. What's going on?
Enjoying a nice sunny day here in Southern Illinois.
It's really nice. It's really nice. Hey, I know we got a lot of us here. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. Let's just get right into our slide presentation here. We've got big news today. JCAR met earlier today, had a couple of other agencies in with ISP, but we're going to talk about the rulemaking on the gun ban and registry. And I guess to kick it off, gentlemen, I'm going to open up the door. They did not adopt the rules, the permanent rules that were filed late last week by ISP. They did not adopt them. So the floor is you all. I'll just have at it.
Yeah. How about Attorney David Freeze?
Yeah, it's sort of kind of interesting. And what this does is it's going to leave everybody in a state of, confusion as to how the state police, if at all, are going to have to enforce this gun ban. Colin and I were going back and forth prior to this conference on what the state police are going to be able to do, not do, and it's frustrating for the citizens and law-abiding gun owners of the state of Illinois.
Right.
David,
so we got it. Go ahead.
Do you think by what's happened to this morning being so muddled that it may have some effect on the courts if the state of Illinois can't get its act together to have a final rules by January 1st, that it will have any impact on the court cases that we're seeing?
I don't know that it will. I obviously I think it's unconstitutional regardless of what the rules say. So I don't know that the courts will take that into consideration or not.
I was told today that it is possible, because of the confusion with JCAR, that this would lend to helping a judge decide to temporarily enjoin the law, because if your powers that be can't agree on rules of enforcement, it makes it really hard to have an effective date where you could have consequences to law-abiding citizens. So that's the only thing that I was told today, was that it could assist a judge in their decision to temporarily enjoin something.
Right. So the rules, the temporary rules that were filed earlier in August are in effect till January the 18th or late January. JCAR doesn't meet again until the 16th of January. And of course, full implementation is January 1st. So there's a lot of conflicting stuff there, gentlemen.
Yeah. That's
what I frequently hear is there's that time period where I think Judge McGlynn issued a stay. And I know individuals that purchased firearms during that stay provision, that then that stay was lifted. There's that group of individuals are really in state of question as to whether or not they can register their gun.
Right. Hey, let's go on to the next slide here. What did we really learn today at JCAR? Gentlemen, any commentary from your perspective on any of these 4 bullet points?
Well, I had a constituent contact me yesterday who wanted to register a shotgun and went onto the portal, and there was no way for his particular shotgun, which was on the list, for him to register it. So he had to register his shotgun as something else. He registered it, got the make and the model and the serial number, but somewhere in that mess, he had to change what he was actually registering in order to get the system to affect, to take into account that what he had was registered. I forwarded that information on to Ryan Spain last night, and I didn't get to watch JCAR, so maybe Colin.
He did bring that up, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, this thing is a mess. We knew it was going to be a mess, and just wait. everybody's sitting on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
December 27th or 8th or 9th, 30th, when the people that have to register, and there's going to be people that feel compelled to register, they have a CDL, they have a job with the state, they may be an attorney who could lose their license if something were to happen. That floodgate will open, and this portal is not equipped to handle that. And it'll further blow this whole thing apart. Just my guess.
Yeah. So at this point, we've got less than half of 1% that have filed or done the affidavit work. So, you know, this number here shows up 300,000. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, almost 2.4 million people that could potentially need to register these firearms. I just can't believe the state system would handle that load at all. And I don't know where this 300,000 came from. If that came, I apologize. I didn't get to hear the committee earlier today, but I suppose this comment come up in committee, or it's just a hypothetical number. But whatever it is, it's going to be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands could potentially show up all at the same time and cause the system to crash.
I can't believe you don't have more confidence in a government-run program.
My thoughts are is that at least it's the Christmas season, because the state of Illinois is famous for giving unexpected gifts like this one that we have to deal with during this time of year, when people would much rather be thinking about their children and their grandchildren and their Christmas holiday expectations. But no, not here in the state of Illinois. They've given us this unconstitutional edict. And you know, the thing that they are consistent with is they always get everything backwards. And it's just like this thing. They passed a feel good measure or law that's completely unconstitutional. Everybody knows it's unconstitutional, but then they force us law-abiding citizens to lawyer up and go to court to prove that it's unconstitutional. It's just ridiculous, the way that our government has decided to attack everyday men and women, law-abiding citizens, in order to move a political agenda.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we saw this movie before. Last year, we were bumping up against the cashless bail going into existence the end of December. And I mean, it is the last weekend of December, and this thing goes to the Supreme Court. Hey, let's go on to the next slide. More lessons from JCAR today. I think my eyes are getting really bad, or my glasses are pretty foggy. I'm not sure. I can't read all my fine print there. Yeah.
Well, something I want to elaborate on this slide and then open it up to the members is, especially David, who is an attorney, is there has been a lot of debate. Representative Halbrook began this conversation a few weeks ago when he testified at the state police hearing. But the overarching question for us has been, if the state police truly believes that counties have the prosecutorial discretion on whether or not to enforce offenses of this law, what does that mean for FOID cards? Is the state going to come in a heavy-handed manner and circumvent county prosecutors and jeopardize FOID cards? And what we learned today is that there technically is no, and the JCAR asked ISP to come back with more information on this in January, but there technically is no official offense for failure to register your firearm in law. So what they are going to fall back on is an unlawful weapons charge, which is a Class A misdemeanor or a Class 4 felony for subsequential offenses, which in recent history leads to confiscation of firearms, potentially losing your FOID card and going through everything else. So that was something that was really interesting to learn today. I want to open it up for comments on that.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see the state police, if they ever encounter somebody with a banned firearm, they're going to confiscate it. They're going to try and get the local prosecutor to prosecute that. And if the local prosecutor says, no, I'm not doing it, I know this gentleman, he's a law-abiding citizen, you need to give him back his firearm, I have a hard time believing that the state police is going to give that firearm back to that law-abiding citizen. I hate saying it, but I think the state police are going to be very heavy-handed in this kind of situation because it comes down from Pritzker.
I think the IDNR as well, David.
That could be true. I know some, some game wardens. I think a lot of it's going to be dependent upon, the individual's personality and their eagerness, shall we say, to enforce this, where they fall out on their thoughts on whether or not this is constitutional or not.
Well, gentlemen, I think this last bullet point is pretty concerning, or it should be concerning, that the gun registry information will be on the leads. So if you're being dealt with in a traffic stop or any other situation with enforcement, they're going to know that you have registered firearms. What's your thoughts?
I guess if it's registered, if you actually were to register something and they had a reason to have your driver's license or information, they may be nicer to you. If you've complied with the law, things might go better. I don't know. And I'm just
love your optimism.
Yeah. I mean, what the heck? You're even a more law-abiding citizen. You actually registered something with the state police. I think I might register one magazine just to see what happens. I don't know. I can't go buy one, so I don't know how I'm going to ever get one. But I'm sure somebody let me register a magazine of some sort.
Yeah. Because it's not only firearms; it's equipment as well. It could be anything. Yeah.
Right. And the problem is, I mean, this could even be inadvertent. If you're driving on a state highway and somebody pulls out in front of you and causes a car accident where they are at fault, and the state police is processing the crime scene, and they find a unregistered magazine for your AR-15 in your car, and they run you through leads, which is the law enforcement, basically a data system. And if it doesn't come up in leads that you have filed an affidavit, then suddenly, even though you've been involved in an altercation that wasn't your fault, now you're being arrested for unlawful possession of weapon paraphernalia or whatever the equivalent charge is. And that's how fast this can snowball.
Yeah. Hey, let's go on to the next slide here. Again, additional information. Oh, I guess this is actually on, we're going to move on to the illegal immigration and the healthcare. DHS testified today. And so this is kind of yet an unfolding story about how they're dealing with the immigration, the illegal immigration, how we're dealing with the costs that are skyrocketing out of control, housing, on and on and on. So what's the thoughts here?
I think that one thing they're going to do is they're going to issue them all driver's license to be the next thing so they can go to their jobs. It's almost laughable.
We already have it.
No, I know. I have no idea what they're gonna do, but I mean this mess that we have was totally predictable. I mean, when you got millions of illegals coming across the border, Illinois being a sanctuary state, I mean, just do the simple math on this stuff, and you could tell, that it's unsustainable, and we got nothing but a big mess. And it's all brought to you by the radical Democrats that are running this show.
But logically, why would anybody from Central or South America or Africa or China or wherever, why would they go to Chicago in the wintertime? I don't get it.
I have no idea.
I mean, they're up there huddling around police stations and airports and stuff, but they're going to be run out. Why would you pick Chicago? It makes no sense to me unless there's something else going on.
Well, I think they're being bussed here from border states, right? And I guess we're seeing now Chicago and some other municipalities around up there closer to Jed's area that are putting some fines on these buses. Unless you've got somebody waiting on you, they're turning you away. Jed, you're closer to that action. What do you see and hear up there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real concern. You've got townships up here that are taking grants from the governor to start housing migrants in multiple facilities. And these are township forms of government taking grants. Like, they have no business being in the housing industry. They're there to take care of roadways and other things. So It is stemming across all kinds of different forms of government, and people are highly concerned. I've had people tell me, I haven't driven Lakeshore Drive in the last month or so, but people have told me there are tents up here and there. So it is definitely becoming pervasive. And now that it is like in plain sight and not just a news article, there's a lot of concern. I get a lot of calls from constituents concerned, without question.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we haven't really talked about and our quote elected leaders haven't talked about is the strain it's going to put on our healthcare system. And I watched news stories of, this has been going on in Texas before it hit us, and saw interviews with individuals that were having to drive 45, 60 minutes to a neighboring county to get healthcare because their current healthcare system was overwhelmed by illegals. That's unfortunate. Obviously, when we want everybody here to have healthcare, we want the individuals, even if they're here illegally, to get healthcare treatment. But, as Chris said, this was predictable.
Right. Well, you mentioned about the strain that it's putting on the system, David, and back in May, they said the cost was going to be $1.1 billion. They rolled it back to budget $550 million, but then DHS late in October actually came out with a number of $830 million. Regardless, that's a $280 million budget buster. So you've got the strain on the system, the infrastructure at every level, and now you have the strain on the budget. The list goes on and on with that situation. Just continuing to compound itself.
One of the things that we don't talk about very much is what's happening in our schools. When we have people that are coming into this country, are going to school and they've never gone to school, or they don't read or write English, or maybe they don't even, write whatever their native language is. We're getting people that are coming here that are uneducated, young people that are uneducated, that are now coming into our schools, and we have no way to give, to serve them, as it totally disrupts the education system. So if you're listening, for everybody that's listening out there, go to your local school board and ask them a very simple question. How many newcomers do you have? And that's the correct term, newcomers. That is a term that is used in education. And ask your local school board how many newcomers they have in their school district. And that will tell you how many people are in that school district that don't speak English, that didn't, in all likelihood, haven't come here legally. And that'll give you a good idea. So let us know. Go ask.
Right.
Leave us a message, send us an email or text to one of us. But I challenge all of you, everybody listening to this conversation tonight, find it out. Ask, how many newcomers are there in your school system?
Great point. Dan, let's do some closing comments, and let's just go David, Jed, Dan, and then we'll just wrap up with our closing slide, Chris, and Colin, about how people can find us and your closing thought. But guys, gentlemen, let's just your thoughts to your constituents and others around the state of Illinois. What's our message to the law-abiding gun owners in this state? What's your message to them? How we're trying to stand up for them, what they should be trying to do. Just let's start with David, and then go Jed, Dan, and then Colin and Chris to close out. What's our message?
Yeah, please know and understand we are fighting for your Second Amendment rights. I'm a gun owner myself. My hope is that Dan's suit and other suits eventually get to the Supreme Court and turn this over, because this is it's definitely an overreach by any stretch.
Right. Jed, your closing thoughts and message to
I
our
have
constituents
coming by my office all the time, and for now I've been telling them do nothing. So just wait, and let's see. Hopefully this plays out in the court system. But in Illinois, it seems like we love to go into the operating room to conduct surgery without any prep, any tools, anything at all, and then the patient's bleeding on the table, and everyone's looking around like, how do we fix it? And we're trying to bring in the bucket and the mop and clean things up, but we're doing it in reverse order, and it is a real shame, and it's a disservice to the electorate.
Yeah. Yeah. Dan, I think patience is a virtue here.
What
Your
was
thoughts?
that? Patience, my wife.
Patience is a virtue.
Well, have a little bit of patience here. Our lawsuit is on the table for January 5th for the Supreme Court to consider. If they take our case, and there's no guarantee they will, but at least they're going to put it into conference on January 5th.
Mm-hmm.
If they take our case, and then we feel confident that if they take it, we have a very, very good chance of winning. And if we win our case at the U.S. Supreme Court, it will, in fact, make this law unconstitutional. And that's the goal. In the meantime, today, and we'll hopefully get a press release out, our attorneys today filed a request with Justice Amy Coney Barrett to put a stay on the enforcement of this unconstitutional law. She's taken it under advisement. I don't know what her appetite is for getting involved. The difference between our case and the Beavis case and the, Judge McGlynn's work is that the Supreme Court can't send this back to a lower court. We're done. The Illinois Supreme Court has said that this law is constitutional. We say we didn't get a fair hearing. We want a fair hearing. And we believe that putting a stay on the enforcement of this law until at least the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, can make a decision. Do they want to hear our case or not? And then we can move forward. We're working every day. The Freedom Caucus obviously is pushing hard to make this work. It's really bad that, we're paying attorneys who are being fought by our own money, our own taxpayer money. So we're fighting amongst ourselves, fighting ourselves. But that's the system. We're working it. We're doing everything we can to help you. And so stay tuned.
Yeah. Great stuff. Let me bring up this last slide, and State Director Colin and Chairman Chris, any thoughts on, as we close out here, where to direct people to find out more about it and how to help us?
All I have to say is make sure that you are on the same page as your county state's attorney and your sheriff. I believe they are going to become the first lines of defense on prosecution of these gun issues. And of course, to this last slide, if you want to support our efforts fighting for your rights, here's the slide where you can do that.
Excellent.
I just want to take a moment and thank everybody for tuning in this evening, because the Illinois Freedom Caucus is your home for truth, logic, and common sense. It's our desire to be a voice for the voiceless. I know a lot of times everybody is busy living their lives, raising their families, paying their bills, going to work every day. And we want to continue to advocate for you. And please stay tuned. Some things that you can do proactively is you can join your local Gun Saves Lives. There's a lot of important information there, and there's meetings all over the state of Illinois. They're an excellent resource as to know what to do and how to combat these things. Please feel free to contact any of us, because we want you to know that we're engaged, that we're fighting for you, and we will continue to fight till this issue is resolved and it's proven to be unconstitutional, which we all know it is.
Exactly. Gentlemen, I don't think I can add any more to that other than always my appeal to like, follow, share, and subscribe to our content. We try not to load you up with stuff too much. And if there's stuff that happens here over the Christmas and New Year's, we'll be back as things develop. There's a lot of big stories here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we're going to close out and say goodnight. Unless we talk to you again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.